Hi, this is Mindy Fiskus, Digital Access Coordinator for the Learning Technology Center of Illinois and Illinois State E-Rate Coordinator, here with another E-Rate demo. Today I will be demoing how to fill out an E-Rate Form 470 for this 2019-2020 school year. A big thank you goes out to Hudsonville School District for being our example today. Thank you, Julie Kramer. So here I am on the Usac landing page found at portal.usac.org. You'll need to log in with your email address and password to the EPC Epic portal. From the landing page, you're going to choose FCC Form 470 from the upper right-hand side of the page. This will open our 470 form. The first thing to do is to name your Form 470. Most people have some kind of indication of their school district. This one we'll put HUT CUSD1. And then we're going to put Form 470 FY 1920 for the 1920 school year. The reason why we put the range in is because FY19 in E-rate terms is funding year 19 that we're getting ready to apply for, but fiscal year 20 in the terms of the Illinois State Board of Education. So this will be for the 1920 school year. We're here in the winter before filing for next year. We're going to click Save and Continue in the bottom right to start our form. The next page verifies that this is the school district you're applying for. Please verify the billed entity number is correct for your district and click Save and Continue again. From here, it asks if you are the main contact person for the district. In most cases, yes, you are the main contact person, and Julie is here. If you are not, you can say no and enter the information of the main contact person for your district. If your district uses an E-rate consultant, that information will populate up here. Hudsonville School District files on their own. Save and Continue again in the bottom right-hand corner. This page would like to know what category of service you are requesting. In order to choose the category of service, just simply click on the square of that category. So we are going to apply for today in our demo for Internet Access in Category 1, as well as Internal Connections and Basic Maintenance in Category 2. So we're going to do both examples on the same form. Some school districts choose to file separate 470s for each of these services. It is totally up to you of whether you want to file them on the same form or separate forms. I would highly recommend, however, if you are applying for a new fiber build this year in order to take advantage of the Illinois State Match, that you do a separate 470 for that service. I'm going to click on Save and Continue and move forward. The next thing it asks is there any RFP for the services you are requesting? If we click yes here, it will allow us to upload a document. I wanted to show how to go ahead and upload the document. In this case, we do not have an RFP. Please note, RFP is a loose term for E-rate. So if you are thinking about doing a rewiring project, attaching a map of your building so that those who are bidding on the services can see exactly how many rooms there are in the building, how far in feet the wiring is supposed to go, etc., would also be considered an RFP. So in this case, an RFP is any additional information. Also note, if you are considering new connectivity options or build a fiber this year, you could get a template for an RFP from our nonprofit partner, Education Superhighway, and their website is educationsuperhighway.org. There should be another demo here on the site that can walk you through how to find those templates if you want to use one for an RFP. In this case, for my example, I'm going to say no and move forward for Save and Continue. This page lists all of the services on one page. Notice the top has Category 1, Add New Services, and a narrative box for that entire category. Underneath has Category 2 with a narrative box for that entire category. There is not a separate narrative box for each individual item, but there is a narrative box for each category. Our first thing that we're going to do is click on Add New Service Request and choose what kind of service that is. I'll quickly go through the options here under service requests. The first option is lease lit fiber. This is either transport or bundled service. If you get one bill from your internet access provider and it is a fiber access service, it will be bundled access. If you get a bill that is separate for the transport, so to access the internet is one bill, and your internet access comes from a state or college network in our state, you would apply for leased lit fiber transport. So there's two different options there. The first one here is leased lit fiber. It covers both categories. Underneath that, you will see two non-fiber options. The first one is non-fiber bundled. This would be a cable line, access to the internet via wireless connection, or maybe a Metro E line. That would be considered non-fiber. That's over copper. The other one is transport only, no ISP service included. So that's a non-fiber option back to a state network. But that's all of those things I listed before, but access to a separate network internet access. And the next one down here at the bottom is that internet access. The example that I'm going to use today is for new fiber. I'm going to offer up both options, transport and bundled, and internet access separately, so I can have all of those choices when moving forward with the district. Please note there are also options for leased dark fiber, which is fairly new in the last few years, and it includes a leased lit fiber build. So if you're wanting to have leased dark fiber and light that up yourself and have a little bit more control over your internet access, this is a good resource between buildings at your district. There is some responsibility on the district end and some additional scrutiny on the PIA review end of your 471 application. If you're interested in that service, you will have to attach an RFP. Again, those templates are at Education Superhighway. In addition to that, we have self-provisioned, which is applicant-owned or district-owned internet access. This would take on all the responsibility for the fiber, including all of the responsibility for maintenance in case that fiber is damaged in some way. So those two options are available. If you're interested in those, please do check out the templates on Education Superhighway. They also have some really good descriptions of those services and how they differ from lease-lit fiber. Self-provisioned, self-owned networks also require districts to look at leased lit fiber as an option and other third-party services and determine that either the dark fiber or self-provisioned networks is a better deal in the long run for the district in order to move forward in PIA review. Network equipment is listed here under Category 1, but that is specific network equipment to light fiber. So that is network equipment needed to manage or maintain or light the fiber networks that you would own. There will be additional categories for network equipment in Category 2. Maintenance and operations is also an option here. So if there's a maintenance charge on your fiber line, or if you want to pay for the maintenance related to the dark fiber or self-provisioned option, that is E-rate eligible. Down here at the bottom, we have cellular data plan and air card service. Please note, this is not a general service. This is only if that is the singular option for main connectivity at your school district. So this is not internet access as it relates to phones or to home use. This is simply cellular data plan access if you do not have one of these other fiber services. So for our example, we're going to go with leased lit fiber as an option. And we are going to move forward like Hudsonville School District here is looking for brand new fiber service from any provider. So we want one line of service. Both of our buildings here are gathered on the same property. So we're going to say there are two entities served. If you have two separate lines coming to your district, this would be two with two entities served. Some people just put one with all of their entities over here on the side because they have some kind of wide area network loop. If you were to have what they call a wheel and spoke option, where the internet comes into one building and you have a separate line to every building there back behind, you would want to calculate those up for the number of lines that you would need. So one circuit here, two entities served. Down here at minimum and maximum, I would encourage you to choose the minimum amount that you currently have. In this case, it is 200 megabits for the district, and a maximum amount that gives you a wide range of options to choose from. I also know that there is a price reduction per megabit when we look at the 500 megabit options as well as the 1 gigabit option. And so we're going to go ahead and request that whole range for Hudsonville to be able to choose the best solution that meets their needs. In addition to that, we're hoping here for a 3 or 5 year contract with the vendor that would allow us to upgrade all the way to this maximum capacity point of 1 gigabit within the 5 year contract, allowing us to upgrade without filing a new 470. A 470 is only required for the initial year of a contract. This button here says, are you seeking installation, activation, and initial configuration? In this case, Hudsonville School District does already have fiber, but we're going to go ahead and click yes here to open us up to any options and any providers that might want to bring service to the district. If we selected no, and there was a build to the district to bring fiber there, that would not allow us to go with new providers that would require a build. I'm going to click add. And again, I had mentioned that we want to be open to any kind of fiber connection here. So in the narrative, I'm going to say lease-lit fiber is a bundled service or transport service option. This tells providers, I am open to having a bundled service, internet access, and the transport together, or open to just transport service. It tells them I want to see both options available. If I have a transport only option, I'm going to need a connection to a network. In this case, in this part of the state, we have access to Illinois Century Network for those who choose to use it. So I'm going to choose internet access ISP service only. Again, the minimum will be the minimum that we have now, 200 megabits, and we're going to put the maximum at the same choices we had on our transport. So a 1 gigabit service. 2 entities are being served. And again, it asks for installation, activation, and initial configuration. So in case we need to have any installation fees on that, we're going to say yes. However, in most cases, for internet access only, there isn't a lot of installation fee. Down here, I'm going to say internet access ISP service only should be accessible via fiber transport. That may or may not be a disclaimer that you want to put down in the bottom. That is something that we want to notify our ISP vendors about, that we are going to hopefully connect back to them using fiber. If you are using a traditional service currently, you would also list that as an option here. So if you currently have a Metro E-line or a wireless point-to-point, I would add a new service request with that old option as well, just in case you don't get any fiber bids back. You would still have access to the ISP service and that other traditional means. So I would be sure to list those. If I don't see anything else here in our example that we need to specify, some people will even go as far down here into the narrative to specify out what date they will be choosing their provider. So if you know that you want to count 28 days from today and designate a specific day, say in January or February, that you are going to pick your provider, you can put that in here, which will limit your applications coming in for options to that specific time frame. Some other school districts will even put only bids sent to, say, e-rate@hudsonvilletigers.net will be considered in this option. That will limit the amount of bids that you get to your general mail and give you one access place to look at all of those bids. So that's a good idea as well for those who are interested in that. Julie chooses not to check another email address in order to look at those options. But if that is something you would like, you can say it here. Another thing that I see as a disclaimer in the narrative a lot for category 1 is only bids will be acceptable if they are discounts on our bills. And Julie's shaking her head here, so I'm going to say only bids are required to use SPI 474 discount reimbursement. If you really don't care whether you're going to do a lump sum and file a 472 bearer form or whether you want the discounts, you wouldn't have to say anything here. But Julie likes to see those discounts on her bills, and so she wants to make that a requirement of her 470. Okay, moving down here to the category. Well, we have another question here to answer. So, if there is an installation here, if I want that to be a lump sum fee to pay at one time, that is always an option. However, I also have the ability to break down any kind of installation over 4 years' time. So, I'm going to say yes here. If there happens to be an installation and I'm switching providers, I can break that down anywhere from 1 to 4 years. In this case, we would like to see all of those builds broken down over 4 years or 48 months. And so we're going to put that down as an option, and those would be monthly payments. What we would hope to see here is a one time service fee lump sum, as well as that lump sum broken over 4 years. To ensure that, I'm going to come up here and say installment, if necessary. Actually, we're going to say installment of fiber, if necessary, should be provided in one lump sum and, and I like my capitals, in 4 years payment in monthly amounts. Again, as you can see, as much as we can provide for detail in the narrative will help those providers who are bidding on your 470 to know exactly what it is you're looking for. So we're going to put that there and move down here to our category 2. Category 2 is our equipment list. That is what I like to call the stuff. When I click on Add New Service Request, you can see all of the options that are here under Internal Connections, which are the things themselves, things to run our network, basic maintenance of internal connections or the support for said things, and a managed internal broadband service, which would be where school districts can pay a provider to manage their entire wireless network for them, either on equipment owned by the district or equipment owned by that company, but they pay an annual fee per student. Some of the ones that I've seen out there are maybe $20 to $25 a student to manage the entire wireless network. That is eligible as well. For this Category 2 service, please remember school districts get a budget of about $155 a student for each building, and that budget is meant to last 5 years. So we are currently in the first 5 year window of this process. If you claimed funding in 2015, this will be the last year to collect funds. So 2020 would be the end of that 5 year cycle. So you'll need to figure using the Category 2 budget tool on the Usac website how much money you have available in your Category 2 budget moving forward. There should be another demo here in the series that will walk you through how to take a look at that Category 2 option and how much you have left. I'm going to choose internal connections and come down here to the devices. Now, please keep in mind in our Category 2 budget, we have roughly $2,000 in one building and $5,000 in another to spend here for Hudsonville School District to wrap up our funding for the 5 year cycle. That being in the case, I need to remember that this is a 70% discount school, so I will need to have Julie cover 30% of any costs that we incur. If you know that there's a limited amount of money that you can spend on the district end, please keep that in mind when filling out your Category 2 request so you don't get a bunch of bids that you can't actually purchase. However, if you're not quite sure what you need, this is the perfect option to do kind of a wish list and see what you can afford before filing the 471. So in this case, I am going to choose firewall service and components. That is something new that we need here at the district. We're looking to replace a firewall. It's also kind of a tricky thing to apply for, and so I'm choosing it and glad to use it as our option. We need one firewall for this district, and we currently have a Sonic Wall firewall. We prefer to go ahead and stick with something that we're used to here. We know how to manage that, etc. Here at the IT staff. We're going to use Sonic Wall Firewall or equivalent. This will not prevent other providers from sending us bids for firewalls that are similar to a Sonic Wall, but it does tell providers who carry multiple brands what exactly that you're looking for. It then asks, are you seeking installation, activation, and initial configuration? If you want somebody to come and install that for you, that would be eligible here, and you can say yes. You can receive that in your bid. In this case, we have IT staff here at the district who is going to install our new firewall for us. I'm going to click Add, and we'll see here as we scroll down that was added to our Category 2 chart. Down in the narrative, if I have a particular sonic wall device that we want, we can add it here. So I'm going to say a firewall is a sonic wall 8100 or equivalent. I just made up that number. We'll have to look that up here in a little bit. Firewall is a sonic wall 8100 or equivalent. That gives the provider what specs we're looking at. Price should include 3 years of service. So on a firewall and any other device that also includes annual updates, you can ask for up to 3 years of service to be included in that price. You do need to say that in your narrative so that all of your bids will come in the same. If you do not, some of them will show up as the firewall device just itself, while others come with a 3-year service contract. In addition to that, the tricky thing about firewalls is that not the entire product is eligible for the program. Because this firewall also does our filtering and filtering is not eligible, I need to say firewall prices should break out filtering and protection services. This tells any of the vendors bidding on this particular device that I want to see those broken out. For example, if this firewall is, say, a $3,000 firewall, but $1,000 of it is considered the filtering of the device, I will be able to say on my 471, the total price is $3,000. $1,000 of that is ineligible, and go ahead and turn the $2,000 price into my 471 to take my 30% off of that amount. So you would be responsible for paying for not just your portion, but also the filtering services. In addition to this firewall service, just in case I have a persnickety reviewer, I'm going to go ahead and add basic maintenance of internal connections and include some maintenance for that firewall. In this case, I have one firewall, and this could be maintenance on my existing firewall that I have if I choose not to buy a new one, or additional maintenance on the new one. I'm going to say this is a sonic wall. Again, you would choose the preference that you prefer. If you have no preference, you can say no preference. And this one asks me on filtering how many entities are served. So that's how many buildings in my districts will be served by this device. I'm going to click add. Scrolling down again, we'll see we have basic maintenance of internal connections as well as internal connections firewall service. Both of them are firewall service, both of them are for sonic wall, and the things that I have said down here cover it. So notice here I say firewall and service prices. I'll add that. Should break out filtering and protection services. So with a lot of our firewalls, there is an annual fee. That annual fee is eligible, but if it covers filtering, we'll have to take that off the top. I'm going to do another example here just so I can go through some of the other things that are eligible. Please note, if you want cabling, it will ask you how many feet of cabling you want. So have an approximate idea of how many feet that cabling project will be. You can even specify color or type of cabling. If you are looking for a server, a caching server is the only kind of server that is eligible. It will have to be a dedicated caching server. It cannot also be a file server. There are some districts who have tried to mingle the two, making it caching and firewall, or caching and file server, and they have to answer a lot of questions for PIA review. So I would suggest restricting your server purchases just to caching servers if that's something that you need. Coming down here to racks and also UPS battery backups, both are eligible. Please keep in mind that they need to be used for only eligible services. In other words, if you have a rack and you are using 4 shelves of that rack and 1 shelf is used for your file server, if you notify Usac that 1 shelf is being used for file servers, they will remove 1/4 of the price on a 4-shelf rack. So you need to be putting only eligible equipment on your racks and plugging your UPS battery backups into those. You can also apply for routers and switches, wireless access controllers, and wireless access points. So we're just going to round out our list here. I am going to say we want some switches. And in this example, I'm going to say 10. I really have not a specific preference here. but Julie is telling me Cisco. So we're going to come up here to the Cisco, and she wants some Cisco switches, but we don't have a model number. So we're going to say again, no, we have staff here to install. Again, installation of these switches is an eligible service if you're interested. And when I scroll down here to category 2, we're going to say, and notice I put 10, the quantity is here. We need 5 switches, 24 port, managed power over Ethernet. So 5 switches, 24 port managed power over Ethernet, and 5 switches, 12 port, unmanaged. Again, if you had a particular switch model that you wanted to put down here, you could put that down and just say or equivalent afterwards. We don't have that model number right here, so we're going to go with this as our narrative. One more thing that I want to note in adding service requests. If you are applying for a wireless controller and you know your wireless controller needs to manage a certain number of wireless access points, adding that to your narrative is really good, even if you already have those wireless access points. So, say you have 30 wireless access points in your district, you would need to put wireless controller to manage 30 wireless access points. Sometimes that wireless controller will break out the CAL licenses for each access point, and I would encourage you to apply for that here under internal connections and also under basic maintenance of internal connections for that wireless controller. I've seen it funded one way or another, and I would encourage you to do that as basic maintenance as well, just to cover all your bases moving forward. I'm going to cancel on that one and show you the rest of the form. So again, if I have a preference that I want discounts only, I could copy what I've set up here with my SPY discount reimbursement only down here to the bottom. In this case, we're used to going ahead and purchasing our equipment in category 2 and then filing the bear here at the district. But if you don't want to file that bear and want to get SPY discounts on your bills, you can restate that here. Any other services that you want to include here, you can say. Sometimes I've seen school districts who are doing wiring projects or something like that who have insisted that points will be given or even have made it mandatory that providers who are providing service be at a walkthrough of the district, or they will state a certain date that walkthrough is. This stops you from having various providers come every day of the week to come take a look at your project. You can pick a particular day and insist that everyone come to visit on that particular day, make an appointment with you, or just show up on that day of the calendar. So you can say those kind of things down here in the narrative too. That will limit some of the requests that you will be getting to people who can actually make it on that day. If you want to not make it mandatory, but just suggest it, you can state that points will be given in your matrix comparison for people who visit your walkthrough day. So a few little things there you can add to your 470 to narrow down the field. I'm going to click Save and Continue here on my page of requests. And then it asks, is there a technical contact person for the district? In this case, there is a technical contact person for the district, and I am going to enter the details manually if I don't have that person in the system. In this case, I think we're going to use Barb's name here. Barb Webster as the technical contact to answer questions for Julie here at Heads Up Bells. So we're going to pass that on to Barb. If you have a district person that you want to list here, somebody who is your local geek, as I like to call it, you can list their name and number here, and they can answer those questions. If you do not have a different person, you can say no. Please, if you use a consultant or local provider to manage your network for you that is also eligible for the program, do not list them as your technical contact person. That could jeopardize your funding and limit their ability to bid on services either on your 470 or others. So this needs to be a district paid staff member here under technical contact person. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to email me about questions on who the technical contact is. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Continue from this page. And it says, are there any state or local requirements for procurement? Some of us had checked yes in the past and then put some kind of a disclaimer that said, "I will follow all local and state rules as it pertains to procurement." That is a checkbox we're going to check in the certifications now. But if it makes you feel better, you can say yes and then enter those local procurement requirements. Definitely, if you are aware that your district has specific requirements to meet, you would want to say yes here and enter that information down here in the narrative. So we're going to say no here on Julie's, and note here, just want to make a note here, there is a save and share button. If I click save and share, it will ask me if I'm sure and share it to someone else in the district. If I do that, it will lock me out of this form. The other person will have to get into the form and share it back to me for me to see it. So please be careful on that save and share button. The other one has now changed to read Review FCC Form 470. So this is going to create a PDF of the form and generate it and give it to me up in my task button. And that's what this says right here. Notice we are almost complete with our application. It will make a PDF there in Washington, D.C., and it will become available up here in the tasks when it's ready. However, unless we refresh this page, we won't see those tasks. So I'm going to click on tasks, and right now it says no tasks available, so we're still waiting for it to generate that PDF. I'm going to click it a couple of times, so hopefully we'll get access to that PDF here shortly. There we go. So it says Certify FCC Form 470. It is the name that I provided it. And now I have a couple of different options here. I can see this document in PDF form, so it's going to download that. I'll open it up to show you guys what it looks like. And here, this is what the form will look like. It's usually only a couple, 3 pages long, depending on how many things you ask for. Here are all the services for Category 1, followed by the narrative. Services for Category 2, again, followed by the narrative. And it will list technical contact. Again, if you have no technical contact, that will be blank. Also, if you have a consultant, that consultant information will show up here in the consultants and consulting firm. Everything here looks pretty good. I would suggest printing out a copy of that 470 and saving it to your file so that you have it on record. We're getting ready to do some certifications here, and I'll point that out why we do that here on the next page. So we're going to check by checking this box, I certify that the information is correct. And we have an option here of sending for certification to send to someone else in the district to certify. This is sometimes the case if you're a tech director filling out the form and you need to send it to the superintendent. In this case, Julie's the superintendent, so we're going to continue right to certification. If I saw something in error that I need to add to my form, I can click back here and go back to edit the form. Also, if we find that there's something that we forgot to ask for on this form, sometimes that happens in Category 2, you can always at any time file another 470. You just can't change one once you have certified it. So if there's something missing from your 470, you can file an additional 470 to open bidding for that. I'm going to click on Continue to Certification, and it says, Are you sure? We'll say yes here. The first certification says I am a school or library per the state of Illinois, so we're going to check that one. This one here under other certification says I will wait 28 days as required by the program before picking and choosing my vendors. The next one down says I will follow all local and state procurement laws, so we're going to check that one. This one down here says I am not a criminal. This one down here says, I certify that I will retain documents for a period of 10 years. That is a requirement of the program, and that 10-year window starts at the very end of the form. So not 10 years from today, but 10 days from the last, or 10 years from the last action on that particular fiscal year. So it really equals out to be about 13 years total. Most of us just keep everything in a file folder drawer and have kept it forever. If you are missing any documentation, you can generate that from the portal here. If anything has taken place since 2016, hopefully you can find some resources from the previous years of the program before 2016 in a hard file somewhere in your district. This one also says, I acknowledge basically that my discount level is subject to change. So if a group of families here in Hudsonville wins the Powerball this weekend and those kids are no longer on free and reduced lunch list, that could reduce our discount level from 70% to maybe 60 or 50, depending on how many of those families were together in that pretend Powerball winnings. It's the best example I can find for changing of a drastic amount of free and reduced lunch. At the very end here, you can see there's just a notice and disclaimer here that the program is run by the Federal Communications Commission and that you will be subject to answering their questions in order to move forward with funding. So at this point, we would click certify down in the bottom right-hand corner. In our case, we have some more details that we need to add to this form. We just want to wrap up the video here. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to the Learning Technology Center. My name is Mindy Fiscus, Digital Access Coordinator, and you can reach me at mfiscus@ltcillinois.org, and you can find resources here on our Learning Technology Center page. Thank you again to Julie for being our example for the 470 demo.